Hey, hope your holiday season is going well. Hope you've checked off a lot of items on Santa's list. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Five-Tool Baseball Podcast. I'm Dustin McComas, joined once again by Drew Bishop. And exciting day today. We've had some phenomenal guests on, but we haven't had a guy like this on. It's a holiday treat for us. It's a holiday treat for our listeners. But Alex Bregman of the Houston Astros will be joining the podcast today. An all-everything player at LSU, number 2 overall pick, finishing the MVP voting in the top 5 twice, multi-time All-Star, just a guy that's done it at the highest level. It continues to do it at the highest level. So, and a guy that's very involved with us at Five Tool, with the Bregman Cares Classic, the Alex Bregman World Series in the summer. But a guy that does fantastic work out in the community in Houston. His Bregman Cares charity is doing a lot of phenomenal work, both with children with autism on that side and raising awareness and how to help them and those people then develop, and also too just anything that comes Houston's way, whether it's COVID-19, Hurricane Harvey, whatever it is. A guy that's doing a lot of phenomenal work out in the community right now. So super excited to have Alex join us today.
Yeah, the level of charity that he is involved in is, unmatched. And like we were talking about beforehand, guys like JJ Watt, Alex Bregman, Mattress Mac, Paul Wall. The list is pretty long for Houston. Unfortunately, they've had quite a few events that allow some of this stuff to get to the forefront. But, some of the everyday stuff that Alex has been involved in, this work he's done with autism is great. He'd love to see all the stuff that he's done, bringing Christmas presents to kids. Him and his wife Reagan do an incredible amount of work in the community, and it just kind of makes us proud to be affiliated with him with Five Tool.
Yeah, absolutely. A guy that's about all the right things, both on the field and off the field. And a lot of guys reach where he reaches, and they talk about, I want to do this and that in the community, things like that. And it doesn't really happen. He's certainly a man of his word. It's one of the things that he's talked about before, that like, hey, I've always said that if I make it to where I want to make it as a player, I am going to give back. Like if I'm positioned to be there to give back to people, I'm going to do it. And he's absolutely a man of his word for sure. Like you can go on his YouTube channel right now. I mean, he was in a Houston area school recently, doing stuff there. He's been out in the community, giving meals to kids and helping people that have been impacted by COVID-19 and all that stuff as well. And by the way, he's an awesome baseball player, one of my favorite guys to watch as well. So let's get to it. Let's not waste any more time. Here's our interview with Houston Astros third baseman Alex Bregman. A special holiday treat for us for sure. So I know it's a holiday treat for our listeners out there. Happy to say we're joined by definitely Five Tool's favorite MLB player for sure. Houston Astros third baseman Alex Bregman, a guy that was an All-American at LSU, former number 2 overall pick, top 5 in the MVP voting twice. Alex, first off, man, how's the rehab going? I know you had surgery after the season. How's that going? And what's kind of the timetable for you as you get back into and swinging the bat? I saw online on YouTube, you're already back in the cage working on stuff again.
Yeah, well, thank you guys. Thanks for having me on. It's awesome to be here. The rehab process is going pretty good. I got a little scar there on my hand.
Yeah.
There you go.
The bump has gone down significantly. It's about 5 times the size of that towards the end of the year, but everything's going good. The rehab's great. Had a great doctor. It's a little tricky because normally we are able to rehab with the team, but since we're in a lockout right now, I'm rehabbing at a different facility in Katy, Texas. So it's going good. I'm feeling great. I got full range of motion back in my hand. I mean, I think I probably like towards the end of the year had about that much bend in my wrist instead of like that much bend in my wrist. So it's feeling a lot better. But just looking forward to getting back to baseball activity. I start doing some swinging stuff here January 1, and I'll be full go about that time. So been able to do some one-hand defensive work and definitely train the lower body and some upper body as well. But for the most part, looking forward to getting back to swinging the bat for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine that it was probably frustrating because it's not something you can come out and hey, like I've got this injury I'm dealing with here, like that's kind of affecting me, but like I'm sure it makes you a little more anxious to get back on the field.
Oh, I mean, if you can play, you play, and that's how it's always been. I could play. There's no excuses. I just didn't play. I just didn't play well at all during the postseason. I'll be the first one to admit that. And it's going to be good to get a full healthy offseason underneath me. Get back to playing at an elite level. What I felt like was the highest level in the game. So look forward to getting back to that form, and I know we're taking every necessary step to doing so. But yeah, it was a fun run this last year. 5 straight ALCSs, 3 World Series during that time frame, and we had a hell of a run this last year, and hopefully we'll be able to run it back and go back to the World Series again.
Yeah, I'm sure, coming from the COVID year before, I bet it was nice having fans back in the stands this year, huh?
Oh, for sure. It was definitely nice. The year before, it didn't even really feel real. It felt like we were playing like kind of exhibition games. So it was nice to have fans in the stands. It was nice to be playing in front of our great fans here in Houston, and then some fun environments on the road as well. We had a blast all year long, and we look forward to seeing the fans back in the stands again this next year, and hopefully whenever we can get out of this damn lockout, we'll be ready to rock.
Yeah, talking about those
sure.
Yeah, talking about those great fans in Houston. I know you and your wife have been really involved in the community and put a lot of effort into your Bregman Cares organization. Talk a little bit about that and just kind of let people that don't know all that you guys are doing kind of understand what you spend your time in the off season doing, because we've seen all of it in the social media lately. But obviously you and your wife spend a lot of effort and a lot of time doing that, and I know the city of Houston has to appreciate that quite a bit.
Yeah, Houston's a really tight-knit community, and we try and help one another, especially in times of need. And there's been a lot of times of need recently, whether it's the pandemic or the freeze or you name it, Hurricane Harvey. There's just been some things that we've had to be resilient through. And my wife has a real passion for giving back and helping out, and as do I. And we try and do our small part in the community and helping people. We started our charity Bregman Cares a few years ago, mainly after my godson Brady, who got diagnosed with autism when he was young. One thing we saw with Brady that really helped him learn and helped him communicate was iPad, and specifically a program on the iPad, Pro Lo Quo, which basically gives kids an outlet to communicate. And we've been trying to put as many iPads in schools as possible. And thanks to Five Tool, we've been able to raise a lot of money during baseball tournaments, and we've been able to raise some money during other various events around Houston. And there have been so many people who've helped out, so many volunteers, so many people have made a difference in the community. We actually just met with one of the school district, like I think the head of the school district, and she was like, you'd be so amazed. All these kids are communicating so much better. It's really paying off and really making a difference. And that makes you feel good, that makes you feel like you're making a difference and helping out. And that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to do our small part in helping people, helping kids. And this just recently, we were giving away Christmas presents for kids who needed them. And it was pretty special to see the smiles on their faces.
Yeah, speaking of that, a guy in the Houston area that shares a lot of those same passions is Paul Wall, a guy I grew up in Houston. I mean, him and the Chameleonaire, like that album, or not that album, but that CD was in my car. I listened to it religiously. But how did that friendship come about? Because, I mean, when I think of Houston, that's one of the first guys I think of, not because of the music, but because of how much he gives back and cares about the community.
Yeah, Paul's an awesome guy. We became friends during 2017 during that run. And he's just an awesome guy. Reagan is really good friends with Crystal's wife as well, and try and help each other out however we can, whatever's going on in the community. But yeah, he's an awesome guy. There's so many people that do a great job of giving back in Houston. Scott McClellan from HEB, Mattress Mac, with Gallery Furniture. There's so many guys that Mark from Gulf Coast Forward. Just so many guys that have helped out, and we're super thankful to be friends with and be able to try and make a difference with.
Yeah, you talk about a lot of people that help shape Houston and do a lot of stuff in the charity world. One of the things that we like to talk to people about when we have guests on is people in the baseball world that have helped shape who you are. I know your grandfather had a lot to do with baseball. Great grandfather was involved in football, and I think your dad did some work with the D League for the NBA. So you've obviously had a very a very diverse background when it comes to sports. What are some people or some groups of people that help shape you as a baseball player?
So many. There have been so many people who've helped me along the way. We've had a hitting coach since I was 13 years old named Jason Columbus, who's one of my best friends in the world. He's still my hitting coach to the day. Guys from the Albuquerque Baseball Academy when I was growing up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Brewer, who y'all know, is one of them.
Oh yeah.
So many guys. I was just put. I feel like one of the reasons that I've been fortunate enough to be successful in the game is because of the people that I was fortunate enough to be around growing up as a kid, and guys that were knowledgeable, knew the game, guys that had their head on straight, but also the teammates I had all the way through travel ball, all the way through college, through the minor leagues, and now in the big leagues have been just amazing. Whether it was when I was on the 12U Rattlers back in New Mexico and we were playing travel ball in Arizona, those teammates that I had there were just incredible baseball people, also incredible people, but they were super smart. They knew the game. They were knowledgeable about it. And coming from New Mexico, you have to kind of be a blue collar worker and you have to get after it if you want to be successful at the game and you want to make it. So I think the guys at the Baseball Academy back home did a great job of instilling a work ethic in us at a young age. And also Ray Birmingham at the University of New Mexico, who just retired this last year. He helped me out a ton.
You mentioned that blue collar work ethic. I mean, when the first time I saw you play down at the Houston College Classic with LSU, I mean, that's kind of what stuck out to me as like an instinctive blue collar guy. How important is that mental makeup for you? When we had Nolan Kane on here, he was like, you went through a bit of a slump at LSU and everybody was kind of waiting to jump on you like, oh no, he's going to throw a bat or he's going to do this or throw his glove or it's going to affect his defense. And Nolan's like, it never happened. That's one of the reasons why he's such a special player. How important is that kind of that mental approach to you? And how important is it for those younger players that are trying to get to that level that you are?
Well, I feel like you got to kind of like, you got to stay pretty even keel throughout the course of a season because baseball is such a game of failure. You mentioned throwing a bat. First off, growing up, if I threw my bat, my dad would, oh my God, he would leave. He wouldn't stay and watch me play if I was doing stuff like that. But yeah, we talk about that all the time. Actually, a few of the guys on our team. I want you guys to name me a dude that does that in the big leagues. Name me a dude that throws his stuff everywhere.
Oof.
You don't see a lot of them.
Does Mike Trout do that? No, he doesn't.
No.
Does do any of the legit dudes that know they're going to be successful do that? No, they don't do it. They have to stay even keel throughout the course of a season, and that's what the best players do in the game. They stay even, and never get too high, never get too low. Know that the game's a game of failure, but they also have enough confidence in themselves to not get down if they're 0 for 4 or 0 for 10 or 0 for 20, because it's not a 20 at bat span that makes your season. It's the body of work of 695 at bats or however many you get over the course of 162. So I mean, it's a big thing. The mental game is huge, especially when it comes to failure at all levels of the game. I feel like in high school you don't fail that much. In college you fail a little bit more. In minor league baseball you really start to fail, and then in the big leagues, I mean, you fail because it's just how the game is. So you have to be able to learn, grow, bounce back, have a short memory. And I feel like I was lucky enough to have people tell me that at a young age to where I was able to deal with the failure and have confidence in my ability to overcome it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we see a lot, and we harp on this all the time, and all the recruiting coordinators that we've had come on the show, they say the same stuff. They look for the guys that throw the helmet, that pout in the dugout. As a competitor that's been at the highest level for so long, what does that tell you if you're watching a guy on the other team do that kind of stuff?
Oh, you got him beat. You got him beat. As soon as you see bad body language, you got that guy beat. 100%.
For sure. Yeah. And we talked about, Dustin brought up Nolan Cain. He's obviously made the move over to A&M now. Have you been able to interact with the new coaching staff at LSU with Jay Johnson taking over and Dan Fitzgerald and those guys? And so, yeah, give us your thoughts on that. And then tell us about the Brian Kelly hire.
Yeah. Well, first, Nolan went to A&M. My wife's super happy about that. She's an Aggie. Talked to Kristen, Nolan's wife, talked to Nolan. They're definitely excited about being in College Station. And he's going to do great things there. He's amazing. I did speak with Jay a few times actually now. Jay's awesome. I think he's going to do amazing things at LSU. I think that just in talking with JJ Matajevic, who is in our AAA system with the Astros, he's a big Jay Johnson fan. So he told me all about him and how great of a guy he is, how great of a coach he is, what his philosophies are, and how basically he helped shape him as a player. And I'm looking forward to it. I think Jay's going to do an amazing job at LSU. I was really happy with the hire by LSU. And really looking forward to them dominating. As far as Brian Kelly is concerned, I'm pumped up about having Brian Kelly at LSU. I saw we already signed like 4 or 5 stud offensive linemen. So I'm fired up about it. I can't wait.
Yeah,
it's time for LSU. It's time for LSU to not be playing in this Texas Bowl. Now I gotta go to NRG on the 4th of January and check them out there.
Yeah, well, you're talking to a couple of Texas grads and a guy that covered the Longhorns for 15 years. So unfortunately, we know stuff like that all too well right now. But we do know it's it's all about the big guys.
Hey, I was wearing burnt orange growing up. I wanted to go to the University of Texas so bad. Right?
Oh no!
I wanted to go there so bad. I almost went there. The only problem with going to University of Texas for me is I'm a little guy and it's a big ballpark and it's a pitcher's park. So I was like, I gotta find somewhere where I can hit the ball to the ballpark, and I can't do it at the University of Texas.
They moved the fences in a little bit now. They brought it in the gap, so that helps. But and I know one of your best friends growing up. I helped recruit to Texas, Blake Swihart. So
yep.
he wasn't afraid of the big fences.
No, he could hit the ball a lot further than I could. Blake's a stud. But no, I actually I know a lot of people don't like University of Texas. I actually like Texas. I think it's awesome. I like Texas. I almost went there. I wanted to go there, but couldn't pass up LSU.
Yeah,
man,
not a bad choice.
Yeah,
I'll tell you, LSU was my lowest. LSU was my lowest offer at the time. I had full rides to I think 10 or 12 schools to go play, and a lot of places said, hey, you're going to come in and play short and hit third right off the bat. And when I went to LSU, they said, we ain't promising you shit. You're going to either you're either going to earn it or you're not. And I was like, I like that better. I'm going to go there and earn it.
I love that. Yeah. Go ahead, Dustin.
I was going to say, speaking of the recruiting process, like, you know, what was that like for you? Because we talk about it a lot, and you know, if guys are fortunate enough to be at your level, they're going to have their pick. But what was that like, and what sort of things besides LSU saying, "Look, you've got to earn it. We're not handing you anything." What types of things matter to you? You mentioned the scholarship offers. I think a lot of people don't realize that, like, hey, you might get offered a 50% or a 75%, but like it can mean so many different things financially. But what was that process like, and what ended up really mattering to you in picking LSU?
So I started going to baseball camps. I think in about 8th grade. I think my first camp I went to was University of Arizona baseball camp, and Pima Junior College offered me a scholarship when I was in 8th grade, and then Arizona did as well that day. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm just going to go to a bunch of camps and play well and try and get scholarships. He's like, all right, whatever you want to do. So Brewer, actually, who's working for Five Tool now, and he's helped everything in my career, really. He asked if I wanted to go to San Diego State baseball camp, where Mark Martinez, who's now the head coach there, who was a hitting coach at University of Mexico beforehand. So I went out there to San Diego State baseball camp and did that, and they offered me a scholarship. And I came back home, and my dad's like, all right, let's not do the camp stuff anymore. Like, you're playing really well. Let's just go to tournaments and see if we can get like multiple places to see you play. And we kind of met with Brewer, and he was like, tell me what places you want to play at, and we'll go to tournaments that you can play in front of those guys, those college recruiters. So we started going to Arizona tournaments and Texas tournaments and stuff like that, and started getting a few scholarship offers, went on a few visits my freshman and sophomore year. I can't believe it. That's crazy. I feel like you should be doing that as a junior and senior, but now, I mean, even when we were doing it, it's going on like freshman year, 8th grade, freshman year. And I think I went to like Oklahoma State. I went to I want to say Oklahoma offered, North Carolina, Texas. I don't know. Texas saw me play. I never went to see Texas. I never went to go to the on a visit or anything like that. But once LSU offered me, I went to LSU and came home, and I said, hey, I'm gonna go to LSU. And my parents were like, all right.
So I can tell you the conversation that took place after Coach Harmon saw you playing. Is I remember very vividly, he came back and said, you know, we got to get this guy, but I mean, likelihood that he goes to school is pretty small. So I think that kind of is what kind of ended that. So probably
I broke my middle finger my senior year. Still got the scar right there. High school. I remember I was crying laying down in my backyard because I did not want to go to school at all. I told I was like, I'm going to the first round. I don't care. I'm going. And I told Coach Maneri at LSU, I said, if I don't go in the first round, I will be at school. And I got a call from the Diamondbacks the next day in the second round, and they said, we'll offer you way above slot if you want to sign. I was like, nope, I can't. I gave Coach Maneri my word I'd go to school if I wasn't in the first round. So see you guys in a few years. Then nice. They end up picking first, and they didn't take me. And then Houston took me at 2.
So looking back on that, you know, you obviously had a great career at LSU, played 2 years of Team USA. You know, do you think you made the right move? You know, if you had to do it all over again, would you go to school again?
A lot of people ask me that. A lot of people ask me, like, would you go to school or would you sign out of high school? And I think the right decision depends on the individual. If you love baseball and you're cool with sitting on buses for a bunch of hours and staying in hotels and playing in rookie ball for a full year, then sign. If you're not and you want to go to school, or if you feel like you need to mature a little bit more and you want to go to school, or you feel like you can do that, then do that. But to be honest with you, I feel like if you work at it and you are obsessed with the game of baseball, either way will work out. you just got to dedicate your life to it. That's how I feel about it. I feel like if I would have went and played pro ball out of high school and signed in the last round of the draft out of high school, I feel like I would have made it to the big leagues at the same time. It's just, maybe it's stupid of me to think that, but I just think that if you're obsessed with the game and you love it and you work at it, you'll be successful at it. And I think you get more opportunities the higher you are drafted. Of course, I feel like if you're taken in the second round compared to the 30th, you have a better chance because you're going to be given more opportunities. But I feel like if you're obsessed with the game and you bust your ass and work at it, you'll be successful.
Rowdier fans, the LSU fans or the Astros fans? Because I grew up going to games in the Dome, and I've gone to Minute Maid a bunch. Like those playoff atmospheres are electric. Like, but I know the box too. It's a different kind of vibe down there when you go into LSU and play LSU.
It's similar. That's actually one thing that's different though. Like going back to your question right before, what LSU had that help prepare players for the big leagues is that atmosphere. I feel like if you go to a school like LSU and you're a dude there, you're treated like a god. It's insane. Like the fans at LSU are so amazing. The people in the community are so amazing. It's very similar to playing in the big leagues, and the pressure that's put on you there is very similar to what the pressure is like in the big leagues. So from that aspect, I would say that that was a very important thing, whether it's handling the media, handling the pressure of failing, and then having to come back from it. I think that was very important to go through in college for me. And you asked about the fans.
Rowdier fans, Houston or LSU?
I don't really know. Depends. Like Saturday night in Death Valley football game, Minute Maid Park postseason game. Toss up, to be honest with you. But a lot of those same fans that are at LSU games are also Astros fans.
True.
Which is very good.
Yeah, there's some crossover for sure. What do you think was the hardest place, or for some people that means the most fun place? But were there any places in the SEC that you just loved going or hated going?
Honestly, I loved playing in Starkville. They love their baseball. Place is awesome. When we were there, I was playing against like Graveman, who was on our team last year, Adam Frazier, Wes Ray was their first baseman. They had other dudes too, Ben Bracewell using pro ball, Hunter Renfro. They had a really damn good team, so it was fun to compete against those guys. That was really fun. Ole Miss was fun. Honestly, I felt like everywhere. Florida was meh, but everywhere else was pretty insane.
Yeah, my freshman year we played at Ole Miss in the Super Regional, and there to this day I've never been in an environment quite that crazy. It was wild. We escaped with the win to get to Omaha, but it was madness. What about big leagues? What are your favorite places to play?
The favorite crowds to make them go silent.
Stop. Everywhere. Every single crowd but ours. Honestly, a lot of people tell me that they like Minute Maid a ton playing there. Like, especially during the postseason, it's a fun place to play, man. It really is. It gets loud as hell. Yankee Stadium gets really loud, and it's a super fun place to play because the fans in Yankee Stadium know the game of baseball really well. Mm-hmm. So that makes it fun. Fenway's fun. Everywhere. I mean, it's the freaking big leagues. Everywhere is fun in the big leagues, man.
Yeah. You won't say it, but I would imagine places like Oakland might not be that fun.
It's still fun, man. I would rather be playing the game of baseball in that stadium than doing anything else. You know what I mean? Like I still feel like a little kid walking into each stadium every day, like, oh my God, I'm in a big league stadium. So that's how I know I got about at least 12, 15 years left playing this damn game.
There you go. Hey, so, one of the things that we've been asking guys, we weren't lucky enough to play in the NIL era, but I have a feeling that you would have done pretty good, pretty well down in Baton Rouge in the NIL era. What kind of places or what kind of deals would you have been looking to get if you could have done the NIL stuff? See, Dustin and I it's all food related for us, but I could imagine you would have had your pick of the litter had they had that back when you were in school.
I don't know. I think it would have been interesting. I think it's a very interesting topic actually right now. I don't know how it all works out. I don't know what sports are getting paid more. I would imagine that a quarterback's getting paid pretty darn good. Be honest with you, maybe like Marucci.
Yeah.
That would have been nice. They were right in our backyard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really think you can do like I'm trying to think. I can't really think of one right now.
I guarantee you some of the LSU guys have to have NIL deals with walk-ons, right?
Well, they have deals with Breggy Bomb Salsa. You kidding me?
There you go.
Yeah.
We got two.
There you go. We were waiting for that.
I was waiting to ask you about that. So how is the salsa doing? Like, I saw the salsa fuego videos on YouTube, and
we got it all underneath that tree over there. No, it's going well. We were number one in HEB in the state of Texas this year in salsa sales. So it's going good. People
that's
love
gonna
it.
make you like top 10 in the world, because HEB is like, the GOAT. They've got everything.
We're number two as far as engagement out of any salsa company in the world. So hopefully it is the new. Hopefully it slides right in there next to Tostitos and we get locked in.
Thanks to Alex Bregman for jumping on and joining us. He actually, duty was calling in the form of more goodwill and more awesome work that he's doing in the Houston community. I don't want to spoil all of it, but he went to go deliver the type of Christmas surprise that is going to make this lady's life. He was telling me before we started recording about, I was like, you know what, we were at one of our things. We met this person and she just had a really just run of really bad luck and was just kind of down. And I think they're actually going to deliver for her a new apartment. So Alex had to run off there real quick and go do some more awesome work. But I was kidding with him before we recorded, like, you're kind of like the Dos Equis man, most interesting man in the world, because like he's kind of like, he's so visible in Houston, and he's such a part of that community already. Just going out, and I think they've already raised over $1.5 million for people, for families and kids affected by COVID, kind of making sure everybody's got some meals. Because people didn't realize that, like, when schools closed and they weren't in person, like a lot of kids kind of depended, on school to provide those lunches and those things like that. So I know it's a real big passion of him. He mentioned, working with, autism and kids with autism and giving back to them with the iPads and things like that. So fascinating guy. I mean, just as interesting off the field as he is on the field. And, like we said, two-time top 5 finisher in MVP voting, multiple All-Star, number 2 overall pick. He's a very, very decorated baseball player. But Drew, what was kind of your favorite things from that interview?
Yeah, I mean, first, obviously the charity work that him and his wife Reagan do is just, it's unmatched. I mean, think of all the big time donations that the city of Houston has gotten from the Bregmans, JJ Watt. He mentioned Mattress Mac. You talked about Paul Wall. That's the kind of stuff that needs to be highlighted a lot more than it probably is. But it's the kind of guy that Alex is. He's not out here talking about it and bragging about it. He just does it. And, I think that speaks a lot about him as a player too. Having spent a lot of time with Troy Tulowitzki, there's a lot of similarities there. I thought it was interesting that him talking about that he thinks he would have made it at the same time if he'd gone out of high school. And, I think I'd be tough to disagree with that, just because, the type of guy that he is and the work ethic that's obviously there. And, you could hear him describing it when he was talking about his rehab. The guy loves baseball. He loves playing it, and you could get a sense from when we were asking him about the stadiums. I don't think he'd care if there was 1 million people in the stands or 5 people in the stands. He's going to play the same way. And, we had that echoed by Nolan Kane, and got to talk to him a little bit about that too, in regards to the way he plays the game and what he learns from the people he plays against by the way they act.
Yeah, that really stuck out to me. Him talking about, that even keel thing. He's like, how many of the best players do you ever see throw their bat or that type of thing? He's like, you ever see Mike Trout do that? You ever see, these guys do that? And it's like, yeah, that's a good point, because you're not going to have success as the competition increases. Like he said, you're going to fail more, and it's even more important to just they have that even keel approach and understand that it's a process that's going to include failure, but a season is a long season. And, like you listen to him speak about the things, like you said, the stadiums, you understand why he is the player that he is, because he is just a baseball junkie that loves the game, that wants to compete. It doesn't care where he's doing it. And he doesn't mind if it's at Yankee Stadium with 50,000 screaming fans yelling down at him, or if it's at Fenway Park or whatever it is. Like he likes that sort of thing. He mentioned in college going to play in Starkville and in that loaded Mississippi State team that had a bunch of future pros on it, and just relishing that opportunity to go out and play the game he loves and compete in that sort of environment. So you get this, you listen to him speak about the game, you can understand why that when you watch him, he seems like a guy that things for a pro, things come easy to him, and he's never too high and he's never too low. And I think that's one of the big reasons why he's so successful.
Well, and another thing too that he mentioned, and I think that we'd be remiss if we didn't bring up, is asking him about all the people in his baseball life that helped shape him as a player. I mean, he's going back to guys that he played with and had coach him when he was 10, 12, 13 years old. I know he has a great relationship with Ryan Brewer, who helped start the Albuquerque Baseball Academy. He mentioned Jason Columbus, his, the guy that still to this day works with him on his hitting. And he's talking about his teammates. And, there's a loyalty factor that exists with Alex. And, I think that's really important, because that's what youth baseball and what we're trying to do is about. If you ask me, all the people that were, big influences in my life about in life period, I guess, it's most of them, it was, my dad, and sports figures, whether it was players, coaches, whatever. And, I think that's what's so important. And, you don't, if you don't pay attention to that and realize that, even if they're maybe not the best technical coach or something like that, they're the people that help shape your future, and they can teach you things across the board, not just about the game in general, but life. I always felt like I had great coaches growing up, and I was blessed to be around a lot of good baseball people and just good people in general that, help shape who I am. And I think that most people that have been around this game would have a similar response.
Yeah. It's cool to hear him rattle off some team names of like the Rattlers and things like that, like growing up and playing. Cause you're right. I mean, as players, you're often a product of your environments and the people that you surround yourself with. And, it's one of the things when we talk about recruiting and things like that, like understand, like, hey, if you need to bond with a position coach or a head coach or a program or whatever it is, and hey, when you're out there with interacting with your high school coach and you're playing with a certain select team and things like that, understand how it can all impact you. And it's cool to hear him go back and just rattle off a bunch of names of guys that were with him and middle school basically, and are still with him. Having the same hitting coach he's had since 13 is it's pretty remarkable, because we know hitting is it's the hardest thing to do, and there's some failure involved, and there's probably some times where you're probably going to clash a little bit, but to have that type of a relationship for a guy that's still your hitting coach to this day is pretty outstanding stuff. So yeah, it's certainly cool to hear him talk about those people in those past experiences and things like that. And of course, the other stuff he's got going on, like the salsa and things like that, like just seeing him, the camera pan around and all the salsa under the Christmas tree, my kind of Christmas tree. I'm a salsa guy.
wasn't his first interview. He knows
No.
Have you had the salsa?
I have not yet, but I'm going to HEB later today. And if it's there, I'm absolutely buying some for sure. Cause I am a salsa guy, and I can say this now that he's not on the podcast, because I wouldn't admit it. I haven't tasted it yet if he was on here. Sorry, Alex. Next time you come on again, I'll have definitely tasted it. But I was just kind of cruising through the YouTube channel, and I saw the Paul Wall videos when they were doing the salsa fuego thing. The salsa is like, I love hot salsa. I've got to get this and try this out for sure. But yeah, it's, it's another example of how proud he is of where he's from, New Mexico, Albuquerque, like that's salsa from one of his favorite places back there. And yeah, it's to have a guy that's at where he is in the game and still have the, like, not even just the awareness, but like, yeah, it's like all these people back home and growing up were so important to me. It's, before we're coming on, I read a quote from my favorite Red Sox writer, Alex Spear, who writes for the Boston Globe. And he tweeted years ago that a scout told him that Alex Bregman was a 5'4", 120-pound monster as a ninth grader. And then you hear him talk about all the scholarship offers and things like that as well. But, to me, like, just really what's going to resonate with me is a guy at his level talking so much about being even keel in the game. Because I think that's so hugely important no matter what level you're at, because you're going to fail over a summer season, over a high school season, over JUCO season, a JV season, whatever it is, that's going to happen.
Well, ultimately, how you react to that failure is what dictates how good of a player you are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's cliche, but the best guys to ever do it failed 7 out of 10 times. And he talked about it too. The guys that are going to make it are the ones that are obsessed with the game.
Yeah.
And if you're obsessed with the game and you take it too personally or take things too hard, you're probably not going to last very long because you're going to be miserable. And that's kind of a common thread with the guys that make it, that the guys that know they belong and just love it. Because if you don't do one of those two things or both, I mean, baseball is not going to be a very fun existence for you. I can tell you that right now.
And that guy's a great example of loving the game. He's also a great example too. You don't have to be 6'4" and jacked out of your mind to basically be an MVP, because he could have easily won the MVP in 2019. Like, him and Trout were basically side by side across the board. You know me, I'm a gigantic Mike Trout homer. His bobblehead sitting right in front of me right now. So it just goes to show you, one of the reasons why I love baseball is you can be tall and skinny, short and stocky, and medium sized, or Bartolo Colon. You can still have success playing the game for sure. But yeah, thanks so much to Alex for jumping on board with us again. You can go to bregmancares.org to learn all about the charity work that he and his wife are doing in the Houston area. Just a lot of really cool stuff that they're doing, just a lot of campaigns, and how much awareness they're raising for autism, and also how much money they're raising to help people affected by COVID-19. I know when Hurricane Harvey happened, how much he was doing there as well. So you can go there. You can check out his stuff on his YouTube channel. They're doing a lot of cool things there. He's posting some vlogs, which I find fascinating because it gives you a glimpse of what these guys do in the off season in terms of how they go about their work. And there's one in particular talking about like how his spine is aligned and his muscles, and that relationship between it's not just getting in the swing and getting in the cage and work on your swing. It's understanding your body and how that all impacts everything. So you can follow his stuff on YouTube and also on Instagram as well. But a nice little holiday gift for us. That was a really cool conversation for to have on this little old podcast that's now up to 30 episodes. But Drew, any last minute Christmas errands or anything that you've got to knock out before Santa Claus comes and greets the little man with a bunch of gifts?
Well, one thing I've learned, Mary was unpacking all the stuff that we're supposed to be putting together tonight. And for those who don't know me, most of the people who know me know this, but of the two of us, Mary is the one that puts stuff together and can fix things. So she gave me some simple tasks around the house as we get ready for company to come over the last few days. And I think she ends up having to do double the work to go behind the mess I make. But Coy's he got a lot of big presents, and so we spent a little bit of time yesterday trying to figure out where they're all going to go. So that's our chore tonight after he goes to sleep.
Oof. Good luck. Yeah, it's fun. You and I just keep having the similarities pop up because Liz is definitely that person in the relationship too. But I will say that damn red and McDonald's colored car, little Tykes car, that's kind of that classic thing that's been around forever.
Cozy coupe.
Yeah, the cozy coupe. It probably should have taken me about 30 minutes to put that thing together. It took me over 3 hours, and I was sitting there with the YouTube video, just constantly taking my finger and dragging back and forth. All right, I got to play the previous 20 seconds again. Okay, this goes here, and like that thing was brutal to put together. So yeah, we share that similarity as well.
I had to watch a YouTube video earlier today on how to roll up a hose, and
oh man,
I came inside pretty proud of myself, and Mary just rolled her eyes. So she couldn't believe, she thought I was joking.
Was it not one of those hoses that like doesn't get knots or whatever? Like I've got one of those no knot hoses, and then I've got one of those little standing plastic things where you put it on the reel and you just kind of roll it up.
No, this was
well, maybe Santa will send you a Home Depot card. You can go get yourself spend $30 on one.
Anybody that knows me,
make that a little easier. Yeah,
anybody that knows me isn't giving me that.
You're not getting a Lowe's gift card. No, you're getting.
Well, that's on our wedding registry. We had all these gifts, and Mary and I did the when we were putting all the stuff on it. She was adding a bunch of tools and stuff, and I kept getting calls from my friends being like, "What are all these tools doing on your registry?" Even my own mom was like, "Who are those for?"
Yeah.
So that's not my thing. I break down the boxes, throw away stuff, surface clean. Those are my type of tasks.
Make sure the things are in the pantry, like somebody's got to listen to all
I can go to the grocery store with the best of them.
Yeah. Make sure all the pumpkin items are where they need to be and that sort of thing. So
but I do have to get, if she wants something specific, I have to have a picture. She'll send a picture to
my gosh. It's like she has to have a how-to kit for her husband. Like, like how to send him to the store. Okay. Oh, well, I hope y'all have a good Christmas, and I hope everybody out there has a happy holiday season. Really appreciate you guys that tune in and listen to us all the time. They've been a lot of fun to do. 30 episodes. We're over 9,000 total downloads, so we really appreciate that. We'll pick it back up after Christmas and talk about our just missed list of those 2023 players, which we published on 5 till yesterday. I'm going to publish the follow list at some point, hopefully tomorrow, but it'll definitely get up sometime soon. Well over 100 players on that list. A lot of really interesting players that we'll be talking about as well. So thanks again for tuning in, and thanks again so much to Alex Bregman for jumping on. 5 Tools favorite Major League Baseball player. He's got the Bregman World Series. He's got the Bregman Cares Classic with 5 Tool. Just super involved in us and helping us grow our brand, but also he's helping youth baseball and giving back and raising money for the Bregman Cares charity and all that stuff. So a guy that's doing a lot of awesome things in the community. He's even doing it right now. You might see him out making somebody's year, giving back to the community and things like that. So thanks to Alex for jumping on board. But until we talk to y'all next time, stay safe, have a good holiday season, and take care.